Subscribe now and hit the bell icon for the most explosive college football takes and insider analysis you won't get anywhere else. Sometimes in college football, you witness a moment that changes everything. A moment so shocking, so unexpected, that it forces you to question everything you thought you knew about the sport. Saturday night in Tallahassee was exactly that kind of moment, and the shockwaves are still rippling through the college football world.
Oh, we're getting all of it because I know you were 0 through 3 and I was 3-0 on these takes because I just some things you just see coming. Now, I was dead wrong on Alabama, Florida State. I thought that Alabama year 2, Kalen DeBoer, Ty Simpson, you bring in Ryan Grubb, the offense seems good. You've got one less year of the Nick Saban shadow. They were 13.5-point favorites. I thought maybe Florida State would keep it close. Not only did I think Florida State wouldn't win, there was zero chance I had them blowing out Alabama.
The magnitude of this upset cannot be overstated. This wasn't just a loss. This was a complete dismantling of everything we thought we knew about Alabama football. And the most telling observation came from E.J. Manuel on College Football Final last night, who said something that should send chills down every Alabama fan's spine.
You could give Florida State all the credit you want, and they should because they deserve it. But the one thing that stood out to him more than any, Paul, he said Alabama lacked physicality, they lacked speed, and they just no longer look like Alabama.
That's the kind of statement that cuts deep because it strikes at the very identity of what Alabama football has represented for over a decade. When someone says Alabama doesn't look like Alabama anymore, that's not just about one game. That's about a fundamental shift in the program's DNA.
And I spent a lot of time in Alabama over the summer, and being around Kalen DeBoer a couple of times, you couldn't help but buy into what he was saying. And, you know, he made such a big deal, Matt, out of retaining his roster. Isn't that great? And then you get people to go to practices, including one of our colleagues who I respect immensely and who played the quarterback position. And he came back and said, this team is outstanding. The only question mark is special teams. Other than that, they're elite national championship caliber. So what are you supposed to believe when the experts, the insiders, the people who have access to practices and behind-the-scenes information all got it completely wrong?
You tend to believe the experts that are well-versed, and everybody was wrong. It was hard for me to believe Florida State could be good. They were. It was hard for me to believe Alabama could be that bad. But really, the issue is now beyond whether and how bad Alabama was.
The real issue now isn't just about one bad performance. It's about what comes next. Because Alabama fans had bought into the new era, and now they're in selling mode. The question that's keeping Alabama administrators awake at night is simple. What happens to Kalen DeBoer? He's got a $70 million buyout. He's got Wisconsin in a couple weeks, and then at the end of September, he goes to Georgia. Then it gets real. The schedule didn't look all that daunting before the season. Now it looks incredibly daunting.
This is where the rubber meets the road for DeBoer's tenure at Alabama.
And I think when again, these big games really set the tone for the season, be it good or bad, it's really, really good for Florida State this morning. It's really, really bad for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. But as we've said before, we tend to overreact a little bit after week 1, and that's all well and good. But most programs aren't Alabama, number one. Number two, most programs don't have the greatest coach in college football history sitting on the College Game Day set, analyzing and watching all of this while the dynasty that he built looks to be in jeopardy right now.
The elephant in the room, of course, is Nick Saban himself, watching from his new perch on College Game Day as his former program struggles to maintain the standard he set.
And it's unbelievable to me how quickly things can change. Because, Paul, it's one thing if you go to Tallahassee and you lose. It's another to go to Tallahassee and have what happened happen.
But perhaps the most damning indictment came from Saban himself during the broadcast.
And blame us. Blame anyone you want. I'm Greg McElroy. But how about Nick Saban on College Game Day talking about it? I went down there a couple of times at practices, and I saw the difference in culture. Now I realize Nick Saban's in a prickly position here, but I wondered as I've heard him say that, how do you change your culture after one season? I've never seen that before. Usually the culture is developed in the first day that a coach takes over. And a lot of coaches will sacrifice the first season to make sure the culture is correct. That didn't happen.
This cultural critique from Saban is devastating because it suggests that the problems run much deeper than just X's and O's or player execution. When the man who built Alabama into a dynasty questions the culture of the program he left behind, that's a seismic statement.
And adding fuel to the fire is a narrative we haven't heard much from Alabama fans for the first time. It's the NIL part of it. These are a bunch of rich, spoiled players who aren't earning their money. And that's something we haven't really dealt with a lot, even though we've been in NIL.
The forecasting game in college football has become nearly impossible, and the analysts are the first to admit it.
And my forecasting skills right now are equal to Jim Cramer on Wall Street. We'd all go broke if we listened to the comments. But the point is that what I can read are the tea leaves of Kalen DeBoer's future, and they're rather murky at the moment.
Those tea leaves become even murkier when you look at what's coming next for Alabama.
And when you start to think about Georgia at the end of September, road trips to Missouri and South Carolina, home games against LSU and Tennessee, and a road game at Oklahoma, and a road game at the end of the year at Auburn, who would have thought in the state of Alabama, before we even get to September 1st, that Hugh Freeze is off the hot seat and Kalen DeBoer is on the hot seat?
Yeah, not me. And look, I thought I had some expectations for Hugh coming into the season because I'm a big fan of Jackson Arnold, and we saw it the other night against Baylor. But it's, we were talking about it in studio, like Kalen DeBoer is about to find out real quick because that performance yesterday, I believe Alabama has the talent to get it right, but that's not certainly how they wanted to get the season started. The talent is still there at Alabama. Nobody disputes that. The question is whether DeBoer can harness it and instill the culture and identity that made Alabama football what it was under Saban. One game doesn't define a season, but when that one game is as thoroughly dominant as Florida State's performance was, it raises questions that go far beyond just needing to execute better or make a few adjustments. This is the new reality of college football in the post-Saban era at Alabama. The expectations remain championship level. The resources are still there, but the magic formula that made it all work for over a decade is gone. Whether DeBoer can create his own version of that magic remains to be seen, but after Saturday night in Tallahassee, the clock is ticking louder than ever before. Don't miss any of our exclusive college football breakdowns and insider analysis. Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay ahead of every major story in college football.